So, the Turtle WoW story is basically over at this point, and I just want to give my take on the whole situation, and let's be honest, this was always how it was going to end. Some YouTube drama farmers try to spin it like Blizzard might actually lose, keep you on your toes watching their next update video where all they do is read a post about it out loud, but come on, that was never happening. I've said it before, I'm not a fan of Turtle WoW. It has some pay to win elements and a bunch of changes that destroyed a lot of what made vanilla special in the first place. So all that, this is the real Classic Plus kind of talk. I always called bullshit on that. But seeing people celebrate it getting shut down is so stupid. It was home for so many. A small team with a fraction of the resources managed to do something that Blizzard hasn't even announced yet. And people are out here cheering Blizzard like they are worth any kind of appreciation. You are rooting against your own interests. Competition is good for you as a consumer of any kind of product. And you cheer for one of the greediest, most soulless companies that exist in gaming today. They would kill you and sell your organs to be made into dog food if that would 100% lead to a safe and big enough increase in their shareholders' revenues. It's been so long since we started really wanting and asking for Classic Plus. And sure, we will get it, but it's gonna be so late because Blizzard have no real idea about what their fans actually want, and they cannot start doing anything good until it becomes so obvious that even a dead rat could realize that, this Classic Plus thing, maybe we should look into that. Now, that being said, as I said, this outcome was inevitable. Turtle WoW was never going to win this, moving to different countries, trying to dodge things. None of that really changes the bigger picture. And Blizzard also had to act. Not even because they're evil, but because if you don't defend your IP, you risk losing control over it long term. That's just how it works. The dream scenario would have been both existing side by side, competing, pushing each other to make better games, players getting better games and more choices. That was unfortunately never gonna happen, but what we got is very close to the real world best case scenario. And when I say that, I don't just mean for Classic Plus, but whatever will happen with the Warcraft IP in general. Maybe I'm just super high on copium, but hear me out. So first of all, just to clarify, it really is over. I saw people online say, wow, Blizzard won a USA bound lawsuit. Can't wait to see what that will do to their Kazakhstan or Russia based servers. Closing servers is not needed at all. Blizzard has basically made it impossible for Turtle WoW to be profitable, and that was all that was needed. No one is gonna keep paying the costs for the infrastructure of the servers out of the goodness of their heart. No official statement has been made by the Turtle WoW team as I write this script, but I would be beyond amazed to see the server last more than a few weeks at this point, maybe a month. But the part that is not talked about enough is this one. The court notes that this judgment and permanent injunction is stipulated to by the parties pursuant to a confidential settlement agreement and is subject to the terms and reservation of rights contained therein. Translation in normal human language, we, the court, are just formalizing something that both sides already agreed to privately. The real deal is in a secret contract, and this ruling follows that. And keep this in mind, I'm no legal expert, but I think I can read well enough and I have a working brain. So what I deduce from this is this. There is more going on than what we see. Things like payments, timelines, maybe even clauses about future behavior, extra obligations, and most importantly, maybe asset transfers. There are a few reasons why I think we might actually be closer to a best case scenario than people realize, and I'll get into that in a bit, but this is the biggest one. Like I said, this was always going to happen. Turtle WoW surviving forever was never really on the table. So the real best case scenario now isn't that it somehow lives on, it's that everything they did doesn't just get wiped and forgotten. That would just be a waste. A lot of people played on Turtle WoW, they built some really cool stuff there, and it's pretty clear that at least some of the devs really understood what made vanilla so special. So what you want now is for the good parts of that to carry over in some way. I'm not saying Blizzard should just copy paste Turtle WoW, they should be able to do much better stuff, but there's still value there. There's code, ideas, systems, lessons, things that could absolutely help make a real Classic Plus better. And maybe there's a real chance that some kind of collaboration happens with a few of the devs. That's probably unlikely, but it's not completely impossible either, now that we heard about this. Even without that, just Blizzard having access to the ideas, the data, the experience behind a project like this is already a big positive. And I know it sounds a bit weird to say, yeah, take the work of a small passionate team and hand it over to a big soulless corporation. That doesn't sound great, I get that, but if you look at it realistically, this outcome was inevitable, so once you accept that, the only question that really matters is what's the best possible outcome from here? For me, it's simple. I'm a World of Warcraft fan, I want Classic Plus to come out and actually be good, and that's it. And since I also make videos about this stuff, I want that even more. At the end of the day, that's what matters to me. If you're someone who won't touch Classic Plus because of ethical reasons, I truly respect that. But personally, this just isn't where I draw the line. We all live with compromises, we all use things that come with ethical problems, you can't fight every single battle, you probably have a smartphone in your pocket right now, and that alone comes with a ton of issues. So even if you loved everything about Turtle WoW, I think the healthier way to look at this is not to fall into the if I can't have it, no one can mindset. If the good ideas survive and end up making something better down the line, that's a win for us as World of Warcraft fans. And then there's another thing people forget. I agree with pretty much every criticism people throw at Blizzard. They are dogshit, but you have to separate the company from the people actually making the games. The higher up, the ones pushing monetization like boosts, WoW tokens, actively avoiding fixes that would take the bots out of the game, all of that stuff, those aren't the same people actually building and thinking about the game. The devs working on the game are usually just people who care and want it to be good. Are all of them amazing? No. Some are incompetent, clearly, but some are really good. That's normal. But a lot of them care. And that also matters because if anything from Turtle WoW ends up being studied or used as inspiration or recycled in some way, it's those people who benefit from it as well. The ones actually trying to make Classic Plus something great. Even just seeing what Turtle WoW did right, or what they tried that didn't work, that kind of insight is valuable. It's basically years of experimentation, and if you put that in the hands of a bigger team with more resources, it can turn into something really great. So yeah, the corporate side of Blizzard deserves all the criticism it gets, but the devs aren't the villains here. And if they end up with more tools, more ideas, more reference points to work with, that's only a good thing for the game. So that is the biggest reason. If that is happening, even if just parts of it are happening, I think that's amazing. But there are other things about it. First of all, I am really happy to see Turtle WoW fall so fast after they started being so cocky for no reason. I really cannot understand who thought that was a good idea. Tagging Blizzard, taunting them on social media while running something that's clearly in a legal gray area at best. And when Blizzard has all the power and resources to fuck you up, what did you think was going to happen? Yeah, sure, it got some people online to go, wow, they are so based, but it also got you on Blizzard's radar, and we all know how that ends. And honestly, the speed of it might actually be a good thing, because it sends a clear message to every other private server out there. Do not do dumb stuff like this. Getting a few internet points isn't worth putting a giant target on your back from the company that legally owns everything you're building on. Because I like private servers, even the ones I don't personally enjoy. I still want them to exist. The more the better, the bigger the better. I'm a player at the end of the day. I do not care about Blizzard as a company. I do not care about any of these corporations. What I care about is good games. And private servers growing, experimenting, most importantly, taking players away from Blizzard, that's great. That's pressure. Blizzard will go after some of them legally, but they'll never shut down all of them. The only real way to kill private servers is to make a great game. And if the pressure gets too high, well, hell, even the shareholders might agree that the game should also be good. And that is all we need, a good reason for them to feel forced to make great games. Because they already have everything else they need. If there is no competition, believe me, it's much better from a business point of view to just make an alright game and add a bunch of microtransactions to it. More profitable and easier to make, even though the game is worse overall. Good competition steals away players. That is what you want, because at that point, shit like the WoW token or the level boost do not work that well anymore, and they end up actually having to put in the effort. That's why I love private servers, that's why I love old school RuneScape and games that compete directly with Classic. That's what I want. I want private servers to be a constant pain in Blizzard's ass. If Blizzard keeps dropping the ball, I want alternatives, and at the same time I want a real competition pushing them. So hopefully the people behind servers like Warmain, Ascension, Proudmoore, Felsong, whatever, I don't know, don't poke the bear for no reason. Do not tag Blizzard, don't try to farm attention by flexing on them publicly. And maybe don't go too hard advertising the player counts and your profits either. You're already operating in a risky space. Why the hell do you make it even worse? Because that's the biggest downsides of private servers. You never really know when they are going to disappear. That risk is always there, but at least don't walk straight into it. That was actually one of the main reasons I was never that hyped about Turtle WoW to begin with. Even before I played it, I did end up not liking it. But before that, I actually thought it's gonna be great. Everyone was praising it so fucking much. So I expected something really good. But seeing how the team was acting online, tagging Blizzard, flexing, pushing it so hard, it just felt like a ticking time bomb. At that point, I'm thinking, why the hell would I invest time into something that looks like it's begging to get shut down? Because here's the thing, there are private servers that survive for a long time. The first time I played WoW officially was during Warlords of Draenor, right at the end of it. But the first time I ever played WoW was actually on a Mists of Pandaria private server. Very fast leveling, but otherwise no changes. The server is still alive today, over 10 years later. Not only that, it actually split into two different servers, so clearly they're doing fine. The whole idea behind it was simple. You could play WoW for free, but it was always one expansion behind retail. So when official WoW was on Legion, they were on Warlords of Draenor, and so on. And they are still here. The War Within expansion recently launched. It can be done. Private servers can survive long term. Small funny story here. Shadowlands was so bad and content was so dry that this server basically broke its own concept. Instead of staying one expansion behind, they just caught up and even added new dungeons and raids. They never made custom content before, and they were always one expansion behind. That was the whole thing. That's how bad Shadowlands was. And lastly, I know it's not a fun thing for those players, but the people that played on Turtle WoW are very likely gonna start looking for a new place to call home, you know? Big opportunity for the other private servers, not just for Blizzard. I hope people go back to WoW in any way, shape or form and help drive this IP forward. And I think that will happen. So yeah, private servers aren't going anywhere. Some of them last for years, even decades, if they're run properly. That's why this whole situation with Turtle WoW doesn't mean the end of anything. It's just a part of the cycle. But there is a real chance of some good coming from it. And I think it will. For the past few months, all my videos sound very negative, and they are. The way I feel about the game is nothing but a reflection of how the game is currently. And when it comes to Classic, the game has been forgotten for years by Blizzard. But I am actually a very hopeful and optimistic person. It's just my nature. The evidence might maybe tell us something different, but I think Classic Plus will be great and I can't wait to play it, even if it's way too late. The best case scenario for the future, the thing I hope for when it comes to private servers, is the licensing of the IP to third parties like Bethesda, Rockstar, Valve, and even Microsoft themselves are doing with some of their most popular games. But for now, I think we can still be optimistic about this situation too and about Classic Plus. Anyway, that's my take on everything. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, sub to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and till next time, peace.